The next installment in the once-beloved looter shooter franchise is looking less like a triumphant return and more like the latest addition to gaming's growing graveyard of overpriced disappointments. And this is because it seems that the CEO of the company is more interested in running its players' pockets than actually creating something fun or interesting. It's genuinely sad to watch Borderlands, a franchise that once had charm, chaos, and character, spiral into irrelevance. In recent years, it's been plagued by failed spin-offs, a disastrous movie adaptation, and now the looming threat of another overpriced, underwhelming release. This has put the company Gearbox in a bit of a tight spot where it now needs to remedy the situation, as gamers are now losing all confidence in the franchise, and with game prices reaching Nintendo-induced heights of $80, it's becoming harder to justify spending that much on a single game. Coupled with the comments addressing these concerns from the CEO of Gearbox feeling tone deaf, Borderlands 4 is shaping up to be a cooked mess. If you guys like the gaming news content that I make, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe. I make videos like this weekly, and I hope to entertain or make you guys laugh at all this stuff. Now, the latest controversy comes courtesy of Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford, who just couldn't keep his big mouth shut on Twitter. I imagine half the Gearbox office tried to dive across the table and rip his phone out of his hand the moment he hit send on this tweet. About a week ago, Randy reposted his creator voice interview with Nintendo, adding the caption, "I am so very excited for the Nintendo Switch 2, and I'm even more excited to bring Borderlands 4 to this incredible magical machine." Which sounds great, more games is always amazing, but then you horrifically remember that Nintendo's new standard for magic machines now includes an $80 price tag for their video games. And to make matters worse, in the creator's voice interview, Pitchford revealed that Borderlands 4 is being designed and optimized specifically for the Switch 2.
It is so exciting to be able to develop a game for the platform. To have Nintendo Switch 2 in hand while we're making Borderlands 4 for Nintendo Switch 2 is really exciting. Usually, we'll have to port a game to a platform, but in this case, we're making Borderlands 4 for the Nintendo Switch 2.
So, this obviously raised concerns for fans over the potential cost of the game, with one user replying, "Randy, this game better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this idea of endless price hikes. You're the CEO, you have a say here." This comment comes over the concerns and anger that first-party titles like Mario Kart World would be coming to the Switch 2 with a price tag of $80. Pitchford, instead of listening, decided to double down with an absolute gem of a reply. A, not my call. B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Starflight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was working minimum wage at an ice cream parlor in Pismo Beach, and I made it happen. An incredibly horrific and tone-deaf lie that highlights the disconnect between AAA studios and gamers. Pitchford has completely gone off his rocker in declaring that players aren't real fans because they refuse to pay a ridiculous price. The guy has basically turned his back on what made games great, and citing a price point from the 90s which costs around $200 today is ridiculous. And that's why I believe Gearbox is bending over for Nintendo and setting Borderlands 4 up for failure. Pitchford doesn't care about building something special, he just wants to ship a product and cash out, which I also think is a joke considering the franchise has failed to succeed anywhere outside of its core formula for years. The last 6 years haven't been kind to the franchise following a string of failed projects. Whether it's video games, movies, or spin-offs, Gearbox has fumbled just about every attempt to expand the Borderlands universe. In most recent media memory, we can look at the failed Borderlands movie that was released back in 2024, a commercial failure that lost over $100 million in its production. Critics tore it apart, calling it an ugly, boring, truly inept piece of filmmaking, shot years ago and shelved longer than it should have been, like maybe forever. Not the most glowing review, but the Borderlands franchise failures go much farther back in video game media when we examine entries like New Tales from the Borderlands, a spin-off game released in 2022 that was mauled by critics and gamers alike, a game so bad it actually managed to damage the franchise's lore. Steam reviews were overwhelmingly negative, with one player stating, "Laughably terrible. The only way to redeem the story is to pretend it never happened and make it non-canon." And of course, there's Tiny Tina's Wonderland released back in 2021, another lesser-known misfire spin-off video game. All of these projects flopped, both critically and commercially. The Borderlands name is now associated with disappointment and failed experimentation, and when the guy steering the ship seems completely unbothered by this downward spiral, it doesn't exactly inspire confidence. Fans will see it, they feel it, and they're tuning it out. If this trend continues, it could mark the beginning of the end for Gearbox. We're in an era where bad games are no longer tolerated. If developers expect us to spend $80 on brand new regular versions of games, then we're going to be even more diligent and risk-averse with our wallets. With the rising costs, dwindling trust, and tone-deaf leadership at Gearbox, Borderlands might be on its last legs if this project also fails. Falling to irrelevance is the final stage of death for any IP. It's no longer enough to slap Borderlands on the box and expect people to just show up. We want games that feel like they were made by people who care, but what we're getting is another corporatized cash grab with the personality of a steel boot. So yeah, Borderlands 4 might be cooked, but maybe, just maybe, if the backlash is loud enough, Gearbox will wake up. But until then, I'd recommend saving your $80 for better developers that don't insult you on Twitter. If you're interested interested in hearing about how the shadow company behind all of this mess and controversy is also insulting its fan base, check out my last video about the Switch 2 and Nintendo's new user agreement that allows them to break the console. Well, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, have a good one.